Welcome in. It is, well, for me, it's bright and early, so not sure where you are at and what time of day it is for you. I often look out the window at the sunshine, and if it looks a little darker in here this morning, that'd be why. The sun is yet to arise, so that's where we are. And switch this around a minute. There we go. So we are going to jump in and look at Joshua today, Joshua 16 through 20. So again, we get into a couple of the days of the week, Joshua here on Tuesday, Isaiah on Friday, and they can be a little bit long. So of course, I do have a tendency at times to make even a short one end up being long. So that's how that goes. So Joshua, if you remember, I'm just going to pull this up. The 12 tribes are getting their land. Oh, hey, ukulele. Hey, Alice, welcome in, Raiders. Hey, thanks for joining this morning here. Good to see all of you. I'm a little bit earlier than I usually am, so just looking out the window, I see my son is going to clear the snow off his car so he can go to work. So that's fun. Hey, Barry, thanks for the follow. Thanks for being here. I've just got up on the screen the 12 tribes. We're in Joshua today. And last time there was a bunch of description of where all the cities were, where all the areas were, who was getting what section of land, and so that's where it is. So, oh, lost your steam or stream? Oh, lost your steam. Yeah, you were no energy there. It's okay. We all have those days. There are some people I watch and I'm like, man, they have way too much energy. I usually don't have that much energy in the morning, so that's why I'm not usually on so early. But so here we are, just a review of the different tribes. Those on the east side were conquered when Moses was still alive of the Jordan here. So that's Manasseh, half of Manasseh, Gad, Reuben. And then on the left side of the Jordan are all of those who when Joshua conquered the land and they divided it up. So that's where we're at. We're running through. Yeah, too much energy is too much. That is absolutely true at times. Kids have lots of energy, and lots of times it seems wasted in unproductive things. But they're kids; they need it. So, all right. So let's jump into Joshua. And it's going to talk about Joseph here. And if you don't know, I'm just going to go back a second. So there's Manasseh and Ephraim. Joseph ends up with a double. So there's no tribe of Joseph listed here. Joseph is split into Manasseh. If you see up here at the top on the right, and then in the middle on the left, you have Manasseh and Ephraim. So that's where it's going to talk about Joseph there. So in case you weren't aware of that. So let's jump in. The allotment for Joseph began at the Jordan east of the springs of Jericho and went up from there through the desert into the hill country of Bethel. And if you have been here, you'll remember that Beth means house. So Bethel is the house of God. It went from Bethel, that is Luz, so that would have been the original name before it was changed, crossed over to the territory of the Arkites and Atoreth, descended westward to the territory of the Japhletites, as far as the region of the lower Beth Horon and on to Gezer, ending at the Mediterranean Sea. So that's where we're at. We're in the middle of trying to describe all these areas that I just showed a map of you to. So Manasseh and Ephraim, the descendants of Joseph, received their inheritance. This is the territory of Ephraim according to its clans. So when it's saying according to its clans, the land was divided up based on how big your clan was. So if you had a larger clan, you had larger portion of land. So that's how they divided it up. The boundary of their inheritance went from Ataroth Adar in the east to the upper Beth Horon, and continued to the Mediterranean Sea. From Mikmethath, wow, that's a weird name, Mikmethath, on the north, it curved eastward to Ananoth, Shiloh, passing by it to Janoah on the east. Then it went down from Janoah to Adarath, and Naarah, touched Jericho, and came out at the Jordan. From Tapua, the border went west to Kanah ravine and ended at the Mediterranean Sea. This was the inheritance of the tribe of the Ephraimites according to its clans. It also included all the towns and their villages that were set aside for the Ephraimites within the inheritance of Manassites. They did not dislodge the Canaanites living in Gezer. To this day, the Canaanites lived among the people of Ephraim, but are required to do forced labor. Okay, so a couple of things going on here. Again, why do we want and need all of this information? This, in essence, is serving as a legal document. By describing all the places where the land is, you are having a legal document describing where your boundaries are. Therefore, any disputes between your tribe and another, your clan and another, here's the record of it. So there can be no disputes, or this would help settle any disputes. There's also this pattern that it has in the text here of saying, and this has still happening to this day. They like that phrase. So at the time of the writing of this was all still holding true. There's nothing new. They're not surprised by that. This has been going on for a long time. So that's kind of what that's talking about there. So let's keep reading, and if you know any of these names or have questions about them as we go, feel free to just ask. But otherwise, I'll try to read all these places as quickly as I can. This was the allotment for the tribes of Manasseh as Joseph's firstborn. Okay. This is for Machir, Manasseh's firstborn. Machir was the ancestor of the Gileads, who had received Gilead and Bashan, because the Machirites were great soldiers. So this allotment was for the rest of the people of Manasseh, the clans of Abiezer, Helek, Asriel, Shechem, Hefer, and Shemedid. These are the other male descendants of Manasseh, son of Joseph's clan. Oh, Noah who built the ark? No. I don't believe that is Noah who built the ark. Where is that at? The name at? Well, one of the things you do have from time to time is a repeat of names, or family names will be reused. So, for instance, when John is born in the New Testament, John is not a family name, so it is a surprise that John would have been within the name. So it's more of a probably a family name kind of a thing. So now Zelophehad, son of Hefer, and the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, had no sons but only daughters, whose names were Mahlah, Noah, Haglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. They went to Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the leaders, and said, "The Lord commanded Moses to give us an inheritance among our relatives." So Joshua gave them an inheritance along with the brothers of their father, according to the Lord's command. Manasseh's share consisted of 10 tracts of land, besides Gilead and Bashan, east of the Jordan, because the daughters of the tribe of Manasseh received an inheritance among the sons. The land of Gilead belonged to the rest of the descendants of Manasseh. Okay, interesting thing here. The daughters of Zelophehad. This is an interesting little tiny thing inserted in here where Zelophehad has no sons, and this is the time they're dividing up the land. So it's not further down the road from then. It's while they're dividing it up. And if at this time he has no sons, now he has no portion in the land. And so they go and say, this isn't right. Our father and our ancestors deserve to have their inheritance, and our father will have no inheritance if they have no land. And they say, you're right. Your father should have an inheritance, so we'll give an inheritance to you to be able to pass on. One of the things that you have in a society where you have land passed on is you run into a couple of kind of things. If you, let's just say, for instance, you have 100 acres and you have 10 children, and you divide that by all the acres, everyone only gets 10. So you can see where very quickly you start having the land diminished in how much people have, especially if you're in an agricultural society trying to farm, or you're a herdsman and you've got land to run your flocks on. It changes the dynamics pretty quickly. But the other thing is if you have your daughter inherit something and your daughter marries someone who also inherits something, now you have the land going from tribe to tribe to tribe. And one of the things is to try to keep the inheritance within the tribe. So that's where they chose to have patrilineal heritage, so that the sons would inherit, not the daughters. The daughters would marry, and that would be what their children would inherit, would be from their father. So here we have an instance that's different because they're in the proportioning of the land. But look at how courageous they are. They come on behalf of their father. This isn't we're selfish and we want it. It's Moses commanded to give us an inheritance, meaning our relatives, and this is the only way for it to happen, is if our father's share is given to us, and so that takes place. Oh yeah, the Gilead. Yeah, this would be the Gilead of there is a balm in Gilead. So yeah, good Alice there on making that connection. There's a balm, or the Rose of Gilead medical balm, and there's also a song, There is a Balm in Gilead. So yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. All right, enough sidetrack there. Let's get back into our text. The territory of Manasseh extended from Asher to Methaath, east of Shechem. The boundary ran southward from there to include the people living at En-Tappuah. Manasseh had the land of En-Tappuah, but Tappuah itself, on the boundary of Manasseh, belonged to the Ephraimites. Okay, so giving clarification here. Why all these details? Again, it's so that if there's any disputes, here it clearly spells it out. Then the boundary continued south to the Kana ravine. There were towns belonging to Ephraim lying among the towns of Manasseh, but the boundary of Manasseh was the northern side of the ravine and ended at the Mediterranean Sea. On the south, the land belonged to Ephraim, on the north, Manasseh. The territory of Manasseh reached to the Mediterranean Sea and bordered Asher on the north and Issachar on the east. Within Issachar and Asher, Manasseh also had Beth Shan, Iblim, and the people of Endor. That should be a familiar name, Endor, Tanakh, and Megiddo, maybe another name you know, together with the surrounding settlements. The third in the list is Naphath. So Endor, if you're going, why does that sound familiar? Because Star Wars. You may have heard of Endor, the moons of Endor. So some Ewoks and such. Megiddo, you may not, you will, well, it sounds somewhat, yeah. Armageddon would be Ar is mountain, and Megiddo would be the location. So it's the mountain of Megiddo. And so when people say Armageddon is coming, it's the battle that's going to happen on the mountain of Megiddo. So we have these places starting already here being mentioned as the land is being occupied. So something else oh, that's what I was thinking as well. Let's see, we are in 17. I'm just curious what Endor means. So, okay, what verse? We're in 11. Okay, so go down to 11. I'm in Blue Letter Bible, and I click on the verse, and it gives me all of the original language here, and from there I can look up. Okay, here's Endor, so let's see what Endor means. Fountain of door. Okay, so En means fountain. Okay, I should possibly remember that, but did not. So let's look at door. I thought door was also listed there. Yeah, there's Endor and door. So what does door mean? Generation. So fountain of a generation, or the generation's fountain. That's interesting. So this is what I do when I'm curious about words. I especially like to do that in genealogies. It's interesting here too in place names and locations. So fountain generation, or the generation's fountain, depending upon how you would translate those kinds of things. So, all right. Well, let's get back to our text. Yet the Manassites were not able to occupy these towns, for the Canaanites were determined to live in the region. However, when the Israelites grew stronger, they subjected the Canaanites to forced labor, but did not drive them out completely. One of the things that people often look at and think about, and we already went through the time where they were conquering the land, now we're describing all of the boundaries of the land, is that, oh, it says, and they killed everyone. Well, if they killed everyone, why does it say that they were unable to force them out? This is the second mention that we've come across where there's still Canaanites in the land. They didn't force everyone out. They didn't kill everyone. When that was saying that earlier, it didn't mean it in the sense of that it meant every single living creature every single time it mentions it. Sometimes it may have meant it literally. Other times it's using figurative war language of just, it was an utter victory. It was total victory. That's the language it's trying to use to describe it. It's not trying to literally describe that every single thing that breathed was killed. A couple of times there are specific instructions that say they're to do that. Other times it just says they did that, but clearly we can see here there's still towns that are occupied, so they didn't do that. The people of Joseph said to Joshua, "Why have you given us only one allotment and one portion for inheritance? We are a numerous people, and the Lord has blessed us abundantly." Okay, so remember, I said that they were giving according to their clan, according to would have been their number. So they're complaining. They didn't get a big enough section. "If you are so numerous," Joshua answered, "and if the hill country of Ephraim is too small for you, go up into the forest and clear the land for yourself there in the land of the Perizzites and Rephaites." The people of Joseph replied, "The hill country is not enough for us, and all the Canaanites who live in the plain have chariots fitted with iron, both those in Beth Shan and its settlement, and those in the valley of Jezreel." But Joshua said to the tribes of Joseph, to Ephraim and Manasseh, "You are numerous and very plentiful. You will have not only one allotment, but the forest hill country as well. Clear it, and its farthest limits will be yours. Though the Canaanites have chariots fitted with iron, and though they are very strong, you can drive them out." So here we have them complaining. We didn't get enough land. We're big clan. We're a big tribe. We need more. And he says, fine. That section over there, you go clear the land. You go establish the land, and it becomes yours. That's all you have to do. In some ways, that sounds kind of familiar to laws that we had in the United States when there was settlements. You had to go and clear the land. There were requirements to be able to prove that you had done things. And yeah, go to war and cheers. Yeah, kind of. Yep. But some of it was also clearing the forest. So Michigan, where I live, is a forest essentially. So you had to clear the trees off and be able to plant a farm, and there are other requirements, and then you would be able to prove you had legitimate claim to the land by working the land. So in essence, I think this is one of those passages where that kind of idea of clearing the land and clearing the forest is how you prove legitimacy to the land. So, but yes, in some ways, it's you also, hey, drive those people out and it's yours. So another section where they didn't drive everyone out yet. So Joshua said to the Israelites, how long will you wait before you begin to take possession of the land the Lord your God, the God of your ancestors has given you? Appoint 3 men from each tribe. I will send them out to make a survey of the land and to write a description of it according to the inheritance of each. Then they will return to me. You are to divide the land into 7 parts. Judah is to remain in the territory of the south, and the tribes of Joseph in the territory on the north. Okay, so the Judah, we read that last time if you weren't with us. After you have written descriptions of the 7 parts of the land, which we just finished reading through, bring them to me, and I will cast lots for you in the presence of the Lord our God. The Levites, however, will not get a portion among you, because the priestly service of the Lord is their inheritance. And Gad, Reuben, and the half-tribe of Manasseh have already received their inheritance on the east side of the Jordan. Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave it to them. So, in essence, we just read through all the descriptions, and now we're getting the how did this come about? Where do we have these descriptions? Now there's the summary of going and sending 3 people from each tribe to go out, mark all the 7 territories, and then divide it up by lot. So that's where we had at the end there Ephraim saying, hey, we didn't get enough, and he's saying, well, then take this extra section over there. So as the men started on their way to map out the land, Joshua instructed them, go and make a survey of the land and write a description of it, then return to me, and I will cast lots here at Shiloh in the presence of the Lord. So the men left and went through the land. They wrote its description on a scroll, town by town, in 7 parts, and returned to Joshua in the camp of Shiloh. Joshua then cast lots for them in Shiloh in the presence of the Lord, and there he distributed the land to the Israelites according to their tribal divisions. Okay, so if you're not familiar with casting lots, there's thoughts of what they actually would have looked like. Regardless of that, dice is a good enough kind of idea to figure out what it could have looked like. But what it was thought to be. So whenever you see casting lots in Scripture, whether it's the people of God, the Israelites, or if it's foreigners, the thought was that casting lots would reveal something to you, and the gods were in control of where the dice would land, so to speak. So if you there's 12 tribes, you rolled 2 dice, you add up the number, you get the number 12, then that was God revealing that through the action of the dice, because it's something outside of your control. So that's kind of the idea behind why you would cast lots. Other part of it is it also takes favoritism out of it. If I'm casting lots, or like Alice, you're suggesting short straws, drawing straws. You just draw it and whoever gets it. Or throw the names in a hat and pick them out. It's that kind of thing that's taking favoritism out. It's also and the thought is that God would direct the results that would happen within there. So that's an important piece within here. Is Joshua is demonstrating he's not showing favoritism. In fact, he is asking God's guidance in the distribution of this, allowing the casting of lots to do the deciding, and the deciding would be seen to have been done by God. So there, and before this, if you remember, there was a few places along the way that particular tribes asked for specifically. Those are going to be honored. It mentioned the ones east of the Jordan that, and let me just pull that up a second. So east of the Jordan, Manasseh, Gad, and Reuben already got theirs. They said, yeah, we like this portion here. I know we're going to cross the Jordan and conquer over there, but let's have our land here. And then when Joshua was going into the land, Manasseh, Gad, and Reuben, all of their military men were supposed to go to the other side of the Jordan to help fight so that the land would be conquered on the other side. They didn't get to just say, we've got our section and we get to stay here. So that's one of the other things when Joshua is saying, you haven't taken possession of it. He's not necessarily saying, you haven't defeated the enemies. He's saying you haven't gone in and worked the land, or there's already vineyards in place, started harvesting and making settlements and living there. So that's what's going on. So, all right. So the first lot came up to the tribe of Benjamin, or Benjamin, according to its clans. The territory, or the allotted territory, lay between the tribes of Judah and Joseph. On the north side, their boundary began at the Jordan, past the northern slopes of Jericho, and headed west into the hill country, coming out at the wilderness of Beth Aven. Sounds like Beth Haven. I'm going to go look that up. Sorry if I get distracted at times by names. We're in 18. And that's verse 12. All right, Beth Haven. So city of... Oh, House of Vanity. Ooh, that was not what I was expecting. House of Vanity. Yeah, Beth is house. So House of Vanity. Wow, that's an interesting... So not like Haven at all, which would be a refuge. So yeah, so it's not House of Refuge, it's House of Vanity. From there it crossed to the south slope of Luz, that is Bethel, House of God, and went down to Atoroth, Adar, and the hill south of lower Beth Horon. From the hill facing Beth Horon on the south of the boundary, turned south along the western side and came to Kiriath Baal. Baal is a god that the Canaanites worshipped. That is Kiriath Jearim. See, they're giving the alternate name because they don't want Baal. A town of the people of Judah. That was the western side. The southern side began at the outskirts of Kiriath Jearim on the west, and the boundary came out at the spring of the waters of Nephtoah. The boundary went down to the foot of the hill facing the valley of Ben is son, Hinnom, north of the valley of Rephaim. It continued down the Hinnom Valley along the southern slope of the Jebusite city, and so to En Rogel. It then curved north, went to En Shemesh, continued to Gililoth, which faces the pass of Adumim. Sometimes these double consonants get difficult to pronounce at times. They're not ones we're used to. And ran down to the stone of Behon, son of Reuben. It continued to the northern slope of Beth Arabah and on down into Arabah. It then went to the northern slope of Beth Haglah and came out at the northern bay of the Dead Sea at the mouth of the Jordan in the south. This was the southern boundary. The Jordan formed the boundary on the eastern side. These are the boundaries that marked out the inheritance of the clans of Benjamin on all sides. The tribe of Benjamin, according to its clans, and Benjamin is son of my right hand, had the following towns: Jericho, Beth Haglah, Emek, Keziz, Beth Arabah, Hemarim, Bethel. Yeah, how many times do you have double V's? Avim, Parah, Orphra, Kephar, Ammonai, Ophni, and Geba. 12 towns in their villages: Gibeon, Ramah, Beeroth, Mizpah, Kephirah, Moza, Rechem, Irpeel, Taralah, Zelah, Ha-Eleph, and the Jebusite city, that is Jerusalem, Gibeon, and Kiriath, 14 towns and their villages. This was the inheritance of Benjamin for its clans. Sorry, after that I was having a problem with some of those consonants running back to back. Gotta take a breath a second. All right, and we're going through 20 today, so we are halfway home. We've got 2 more chapters to read, and you know, some people, it's like, this is not the most exciting reading. You're probably right. It's not the most. But here's part of it. This is all information that does what? Well, 1, there's a legal standing here and description of the land, but 2, there's an importance in the inheritance here of who is getting what, of the certainty of what. We've been reading just starting reading in Genesis, because remember, if you haven't been with us, we're not reading the same book of the Bible each day. We're reading from 7 different locations in Scripture, and we're making connections between them. So we've just read through the promise of Abraham, and here, because the promise of Abraham is so important, it's taking the time to list everything out so that no one can say, well, the promise of Abraham didn't come true. Here's the description of the fullness of the promise, and we just read that Abraham and Lot separated. They were too big, and after that, God spoke to Abram. Remember, his name's not Abraham yet. Spoke to Abram and said, look, everywhere that you see, that's going to be the land of your inheritance. It's going to be too large to count. Well, as we're reading through this, most people are saying this is too long a list to read through. And that just kind of proves the point, that it's too large a number. Nobody wants to count this. Nope. God fulfilled his promises. Therefore, it's just as important to spend the time reading through all of this to prove and to demonstrate and to see the proof that God does honor whatever he says, even if it's not in our timing, even if it's not in our plan. So, yeah, it's interesting. Almost no one covers it. I know, and I'll be honest. If I were preaching on this, I would summarize it. I would not read through all of the names necessarily, or I might focus on a few of them and their connections. But to just read through it is one of those things we don't often do. But Paul says all Scripture is God-breathed and is useful, and so therefore there is use in here. And so in the use, if you notice, it's finding the little things hidden within the legal piece of it. There is the narrative that slides in here and there, and that's important. Also, the names of some of the places here that come up, who has them, what they do not do as far as conquering and leaving people. Those are all things that influence everything that happens after it in Scripture. So it's kind of like, if you don't know your past, you're doomed to repeat things in some respects. Sorry, I'm looking out the window. The person plowing my neighbor's drive just backed up into my drive, which, well, I don't blame him. However, that doesn't please me because now he's compacting the snow in my drive, which I need to clear, and compacting it is going to make my job more difficult. However, he does at times, if it's been a big snowstorm, he'll plow the end of my drive to get the snow that the snowplow throws on there. So not upset in a super way, just a little discouraged that I didn't clear the snow before he did that. Anyway, I'll quit looking out the window and we'll get back to our text. Okay, so we're into 19. The second lot came out to the tribe of Simeon, according to its clan. Their inheritance lay within the territory of Judah. It included Beersheba or Sheba, Moladah, Hazar Shual, Bala, Ezem, Eltolad, Bethul, Hormah, Ziklah, Beth Harkaboth, Hazar Susa, Beth Leboeth, and Sharuhe, 13 towns and villages. Ain, Rimmon, Ether, and Ashen, 4 towns and their villages, and all the villages around the towns as far as Baaloth, Beer, Ramah in the Negev. So Baal again there. So yeah, I'm sure that I'm not pronouncing all these names correctly. I'm doing my best, and so if I repeat a name and you say you said that differently last time, that's probably true. If it's a name that I don't see or say all the time, chances are you pronounce it a little bit wrong. Or like in Twitch, people have names and all of the letters are run together when they're trying to have a phrase, and you sometimes miss where the breaks are. So those kinds of things happen. This was the inheritance of the tribe of the Simeonites, according to its clans. The inheritance of the Simeonites were taken from the share of Judah because Judah's portion was more than they needed. So the Simeonites received their inheritance within the territory of Judah. That's interesting. The third lot came up for Zebulun according to its clans. The boundary of their inheritance went as far as Sarid. Going west, it ran to Morilah, touched Debesheth, and extended to the ravine near Hokneam. It turned east from Sarid toward the sunrise to the territory of Kisloth Tabor, and went on to Deberath and up to Japhia. Then it continued eastward to Goth Hefer and Eth Kazin. It came out at Rimmon and turned toward Nia. There the boundary went around on the north to Hanaath and ended at the valley of Ifta-el. Included were Katath, Nahala, Shimron, Adalah, and Bethlehem. There were 12 towns and villages. Bethlehem in Zebulun. I have to go look at the map there. Dun, dun, dun. Where is Zebulun? Okay, I don't see where it mentions Zebulun. Okay. Oh, Zebulun, way up here. Okay. So, either down here in Benjamin, where Bethlehem is, Zebulun has the town of Bethlehem, or there is a second town of Bethlehem up in Zebulun. So, these are the villages. These and their villages were the inheritance of Zebulun according to its clans. The fourth lot came for Issachar according to its clans. Their territory included Jazreel, Kesaloth, Shunem, Hapharaim, Shinan, and Anaharoth, Rabbith, Kishion, Hebez, Remeth, and Ganim, and Hadath, and Beth Pazez. The boundary touched Tabor, Shehazamuth, and Beth Shemesh, and ended at the Jordan. There were 16 towns and their villages. Here's an unnecessary thing that they keep doing in some regards, is they add up the number and then tell you how many there were after they listed them all. Why do they need to do that? Again, we're in a legal state, and so if you ever read a legal document, there are phrases and clauses that are put in there, and they're necessary from the legal sense, but they're repetitive, or they don't add anything to it. But so that there's no miscommunication later on, it tallies the cities as well. So the towns and villages were the inheritance of the tribe of Issachar according to its clans. The fifth lot came, and this is fascinating too. It's telling us the order in which they received their portions. Their lots come up, and then it tells us about it, and then they cast the lot again, and it comes up again. And so we're getting these in order. So there's some, it'd be interesting, and I don't have time to do that now and find it, would be to look through the order at which their tribes are assigned, and then to be able to see, is this birth order in any regards? That would be an interesting thought. They're doing a lot of double checking. Yeah, exactly. Yep, it's the verification. Trust but verify. We're going to get it all down here. We're going to make sure you get it all and understand it. And also, so there's no dispute of who got their land first and why you didn't get the portion you hoped for. Here's the order of which they came. So the fifth lot came to the tribe of Asher according to its clans. The territory included Helkath, Hali, Beton, Aksaph, Alamelech. Melech is king. Amad, and Mishal. On the western boundary touched Carmel and Shihor Libnath. It then turned eastward toward Beth Dagon. Dagon is a foreign god, or I shouldn't say foreign, a Canaanite god. Touched Zebulun and the valley of Iphoth El, and went north to Beth Emek and Neiel. Look at those vowels together. Passing Kabul on the left. It went to Abdon, Rehob, Haman, and Canaan, as far as Greater Sidon. The boundary then turned back toward Ramah and went to the fortified cities of Tyre. Okay, there should be two names that you might recognize, Tyre and Sidon. Jesus talks about if the gospel had been preached in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented, or the miracles would have been done. They would have repented, and you're not doing that. So it turned toward Hoshah and came out at the Mediterranean Sea in the region of Akzib, Umah, Apek, and Rehob. There were 22 towns and their villages. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the tribe of Asher according to its clans. The sixth lot came out to Naphtali according to its clans. Their boundaries went from Heleph and the large tree in... I don't know if we haven't got to one of these recently. We have in the last reading where there was mention of trees often, and it's like, I'm just thinking that a tree is not a good boundary. It's not going to be there necessarily in 100 years. You might want a different boundary, like a well, for instance. Those are also ones that are used, or springs. So the tree in Za, yeah, Zan, Za Nanim. Whew, that was a weird one. Passing Adami, Nekeb, and Jabneel to Lukum and ending at the Jordan. The boundary ran west through Aznoth, Tabor, and came out at Hukkoth. It touched Zebulun on the south, Asher on the west, and the Jordan on the east. The fortified towns were Zibim, Zur, Hamath, Rakath, Kinnereth, Adamath, Ramah, Hazor, Kadesh, Edrei, and Hazor, Iron, Migdal El, Horem, Beth Anath, and Beth Shemesh. There were 19 towns and their villages. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the tribe of Naphtali according to its clans. Okay, also, we do have, as well as when it's mentioning the other territories as that's going on, there's another double check. It mentions the towns, the cities, the boundaries on the different sides, and here we're starting to get and other territories that have already been mentioned. All right, the seventh lot came to the tribe of Dan according to its clans. The territory and their inheritance included Zorah, Eshtoal, Ir Shemesh, Sha'al, Labin, Aijalon, Ithlon, Elon, Timnah, Ekron, Eltekeh, Gibbethon, Baaloth, Jehud, Bene-Berek, Goth, Rimmon, May, Jarok, and Rock-On, with the area facing Joppa. When the territory of the Danites was lost to them, they went up and attacked Lemish, took it, put it to the sword, and occupied it. They settled in Lemish and named it Dan after their ancestor. It's, like I said, interesting little things all of a sudden pop into the story. So, let's see, can we find that? The territory of the Danites. Oh, I don't know if I can see that. No. I'd have to blow that up. It's too small for me to be able to see. So, it might not be on the map anyway. Excuse me. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the tribe of Dan according to its clan. When they had finished dividing the land into its allotted portions, the Israelites gave Joshua son of Nun an inheritance among them, as the Lord had commanded. They gave him the town he asked for, Timnath-Serah. Sounds like K-Serah, Timnath-Serah, in the hill country of Ephraim. And he built up the town and settled there. These are the territories that Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the tribal clans of Israel assigned by lot at Shiloh in the presence of the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting. And so they finished dividing the land. Yay! The land is divided. All right, I don't know what's next. Okay, we're in our last chapter for today. Oh, and it's not a long one. Okay. Then the Lord said to Joshua, tell the Israelites to designate the cities of refuge, as I instructed you through Moses, so that anyone who kills a person accidentally and unintentionally may flee there and find protection from the avenger of blood. When they flee to one of these cities, they are to stand in the entrance of the city gate and state their case before the elders of the city. Then the elders are to admit the fugitive into their city and provide a place to live among them. If the avenger of blood comes in pursuit, the elders must not surrender the fugitive, because the fugitive killed their neighbor unintentionally and without malice aforethought. My brain wanted to say afterthought. Aforethought. They are to stay in the city until they have stood trial before the assembly and until the death of the high priest who is serving at the time. Then they may go back to their own home in the town from which they fled. So they set apart Kadesh in Galilee. Gilead. Kadesh in Galilee in the hill country of Naphtali, Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim, and Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the hill country of Judah, east of the Jordan on the other side of the Jericho. They designated Bezer in the wilderness on the plateau in the tribe of Reuben, Ramoth in Gilead in the tribe of Gad, and Golan in Bashan in the tribe of Manasseh. Any of the Israelites or any foreigner residing among them who killed someone accidentally could flee to these designated cities and not be killed by an avenger of blood prior to standing trial before the assembly. So that's an interesting thing. And this is probably something you may have heard of, but maybe not really familiar with. But here is the description of what it is for. So there's these cities of refuge, so that if you accidentally kill someone, before vengeance can be taken on you and retribution, because people just know you killed them, you get to flee. You get to the city. You have to plead your case, so it's not just hide there and you're free and you're good and you're whatever. No, you plead your case. They accept you in. A trial is held. Your proof of innocence or guilt is found. But you're able to stay there in that city. And what's the interesting thing is, until the death of the high priest who's serving at the time. So once the high priest dies, then you can go back to your hometown in which you fled, and you're able to be there. It's kind of you're right. It's kind of a trade-off. Is you're not in jail, but you're not home either. But it's really more. In addition to that, you're not killed. So it's a way to protect your life in that regard, so that you aren't killed because you had killed someone else. You didn't do it with malice. You didn't do it with intent. It happened accidentally. It happened, and so would be in many modern thoughts. This would be manslaughter. So you would be guilty of manslaughter. You're able to flee so that the death penalty isn't carried out on you prior to justice and in a trial taking place. So yeah, interesting little thing there. I don't recall if there are other times. There might be, and they might be set up later. I'm just going to go ahead and see if Joshua 21 continues with anything with the cities of refuge. No, not here. I'm trying to recall. I know this is the specific one. There might be other references. This would be one of those times we were chatting about in your stream of, well, if we want to know more of, is there more refuge cities, and we want to teach on the principle of refuge cities or understand it more, how do you find out? You go do a search and you say cities of refuge, and you do a search for it. So I'll just quick do that. Cities of refuge. So 6 of the towns you give to the Levites will be cities of refuge to which persons who killed someone may flee. In addition, giving them 42 towns. Select towns, cities of refuge for which a person who kills someone accidentally may flee. 6 towns were given as cities of refuge. These are the 3 on the side of Jordan. Moses set aside 3 cities east of the Jordan. Okay, that's just in the section of it. May flee to these cities. Anyone who kills someone. Okay, here in Deuteronomy, it doesn't look like it says for a specific reason, but maybe it just isn't restating the reason there. Okay, that's all the references that this search gave me. So it looks like in regards to here, there's 9 times that's mentioned, and it does look like each one is referring to killing someone. And perhaps the reason you wouldn't need other reasons to have a city of refuge would be the death penalty wouldn't be or vengeance of death wouldn't be carried out prior to a trial being able to be had. So maybe only in the case of killing someone and the retribution or justice being your death, you wouldn't need to flee. So if you would be arrested otherwise, and maybe a trial would be had, or you'd be hauled before the judge or the elders of the city. So there would be more chance for justice otherwise, so it might not be necessary. But that's just a thought. But again, I don't recall it being mentioned other than for that case. So that's our section for today, Joshua 6 through 20. Hey, thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for all those who aren't in here all the time. Thanks, Barry, for the follow. Great to have all of you here today. Take a look and see who's around that we might